Hi, my name is Don Mamone. This video is for my senior project product. It's an informational guitar video on 4 genres that I studied in my senior project paper, and my topic was the history and the alterations of the guitar throughout the years. The 4 genres that I'm going to be going over are rock and roll, blues, heavy metal, and classical. So thank you for taking the time to watch this and enjoy. I hope you learned something. The first genre I'm going to discuss is rock and roll. Rock and roll music was brought to the United States in the 1940s and 50s, and since then has expanded and created a name for itself across America everywhere. One of the most popular bands in the rock and roll genre is AC/DC. AC/DC uses a lot of power chords in their music, which is a certain type of chord that a guitarist will use to give off a really loud and destructive sound, which was what AC/DC and many other rock bands at this time went for. AC/DC was formed in the 1970s. They're very popular in their day because they had a new rock sound using the power chord technique. They're popular all the way through then and are still very popular today. One of their songs that uses the power chord technique is Back in Black, which I'm going to play for you right now. Another style of rock that a lot of artists use is through chord progressions, and with chord progressions, a guitar player will pick out 4 or 5 chords that sound good together, that are in the same range and the same key position, and they'll play them, and they'll have another guitar on the side that can solo over it, but the rhythm guitar is usually the basis of the song. So here's a chord progression in a rock form. So you can see with the power chord, it's got a really powerful attitude because a really loud chord, and that's what a lot of bands used in this time. It was kind of a, like I said, it was an attitude for the rock genre. So that's what you'll find in a lot of music. The next genre, the blues, originated in the Deep South in the early 1900s in the Americas. Since the creation, there have been many famous guitarists that have been affiliated with the blues, such as John Lee Hooker, B.B. King, Muddy Waters, and Eric Clapton. They all use a certain type of technique in the blues music that is not only found in their music, but a lot of other artists at this time, and that is 12-bar blues. And that's a technique that I will show you right after this. And that would repeat over and over to make the background of a blues song. And like in a lot of other blues music, you'll have two guitarists, so you'll have one guitarist doing that over and over throughout the song, while the other guitarist is soloing within the key range. There are some other artists during the blues time period that were also around when the rock genre started to make its way into the musical world. So artists like Jimi Hendrix took blues background and rock background and mixed them together to make their own kind of blues twist. And this is a Voodoo Child song that Jimi Hendrix redid back in the 60s, where he uses his own style of blues and rock. The classical genre is a genre that was very popular in Spain and other parts of Europe when the guitar really started to get big in the 14 through the 1600s. And classical music is still heard today, but it's just not as popular. But it is definitely one of the hardest forms to learn. That was definitely a big challenge in the making of my senior product, was finding songs from today or back then to show you in the video what classical guitar was like. But I found a couple, so I'll be showing you those right after this. Also found in a lot of classical music are scales and arpeggios, if you will, but they are written in major or flat because I don't know why, but the people who decided to create the classical music genre favored their off-key notes. So here's an example of a scale that you could hear in classical guitar music. The metal genre is the genre that I described last in my paper. The metal genre erupted in the late 60s and early 70s. It was a lot like the rock genre, but it had a little bit more attitude. Rock had an attitude of its own, but metal was just a little bit heavier than that. It used power chords like rock did, but there's a certain setting that they set the guitars to, and that was using distortion, and that made the guitar have a new sound that was found in a lot of rock music. So that's a pretty defining characteristic. And also you'll hear a lot of shredding guitar solos with high notes really fast, and sometimes the solos even reflect back to patterns and techniques used in symphony orchestra days like Bach and Mozart. So that's another interesting aspect of the music, that it goes back that far and incorporates it into this new type of music. I'll show you a couple examples of some easy heavy metal guitar riffs and chords right after this. Another defining characteristic in a lot of heavy metal music is the drop D key, and that's when you take the 6th E string and you're going to tune it down to D so that you get this kind of sound without using your hand on any part of it, because that makes the sound deeper, which is yet another characteristic in a lot of heavy metal music, is the dark, black, distorted guitar sound. So, drop D. have it. There's a preview of 4 popular musical genres that the guitar is affiliated with, those being rock and roll, blues, heavy metal, and classical. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I hope you enjoyed and learned something.